Welcome to Building Barrels, where we explore the technology, planning, and development of adventure centers using man-made waves to spread the stoke of surfing. My name is Michael, and I'd like you to join me in learning everything we can about surf park development. Together, we can build barrels in our hometowns. Endless surf is what we're going to talk about today. Endless surf is not new to water-featured destinations, but they are a new name in the artificial wave space. They have worked with water parks at Six Flags, Atlantis, and Great Wolf Lodge, but now they say they are bringing the next generation of artificial waves to the world of inland surfing. They are backed by 4 decades of expertise in aquatic engineering and design and have developed powerful, efficient, and customizable artificial waves. Today, we have Andrew Thatcher with Endless Surf to give us a better picture of what surf park developers can expect from their new technologies. So Andrew, nice to have you here.
Right.
Can you give us a little introduction about yourself and your involvement with Endless Surf?
Sure. So as a starting point, Whitewater West Industries is the company behind Endless Surf, and Whitewater has been around since the late 80s, building wave pools, surf pools, water parks, and is the largest water park supplier in the world. We have a ton of experience building surf pools in different or water parks in different settings, and are pretty ingrained in the development world of water attractions. As far as my history goes, our company, I was originally part of Flowrider, and Flowrider was a company that was, or a product that was developed by Wavelock, and which also developed wave houses around the world. Wave House San Diego, Singapore, Spain, kind of South Africa, all over the world. And that's kind of my experience where I cut my teeth or first started learning about artificial waves. I started working with the company in 2000, so it's been 20 years. And the Flowride or stationary wave part of the business was acquired back in around 2012. So that's kind of my experience. I'm also a surfer. I've been surfing my whole life, and certainly everyone that is in our office, in the kind of surf portion of our office, most of those guys surf, and we log a lot of hours on the water. So it's pretty cool to be on this path that we're on right now with Endless Surf.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, just to get back to touch on the Flowrider part of it, did Whitewater West, did they buy Flowrider?
Yes, so
Okay.
Whitewater bought the technology behind Flowrider, and then kind of a bunch of the staff moved over, so it was in a way a package deal. So the
Mhm.
people that were originally with Wavelock and Wave House then kind of moved over to Whitewater, essentially the same team.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so Endless Surf
hmm
is that just like a, a new like, did it take Flowrider technologies and then apply it to a bigger pool, or like is it just a completely different thing? Like how did Endless Surf get developed?
Yeah, so it is a completely different thing. I think that what's in common is you're standing on a board. you know,
Okay.
um, as far as how that came about, Whitewater originally developed Typhoon Lagoon at Disney, one of the original surf pools. And then there are a number of other surf pools around the world. One is at Sunway Lagoon in Malaysia, Lotte World in Korea, and a few in China. Um, where you basically have a hydraulic system, which think of it like a toilet flush, where you're filling a chamber with water, and then you just kind of release all the water, and that's what creates the wave. So in the wave pool world, there are two types. There's hydraulic and pneumatic. And then pneumatic is using air, and hydraulic is using water, obviously. So Whitewater has built hundreds of wave pools all over the world using our standard chambers. And then the next step was to create a surf pool with real surfing waves that are 6-7 feet tall, that would be similar to what is seen out there in the marketplace. And so we kind of switched gears. A very smart young engineer by the name of Clément, who was in that space before, joined our company, and that's where things really started to take off.
Cool. And so you guys are doing the pneumatic system? Is that what you?
That is correct. Yeah,
And
yeah. It's a pneumatic system.
okay, and how does that work? Like pumping air, using air chambers to create a wave?
Yeah, so it's fairly complex, but essentially there are multiple chambers, right? So there are our standard products have either our base model is the 2400, 3600, and 4800, and those represent 24 chambers, 36 chambers, and 48 chamber, and each chamber is 10 feet wide. So a 24 chamber system is 240 feet worth of wave making chambers. So each chamber at 10 feet wide is then connected with a series of valves to what's known as a plenum. So I don't know if you've ever used an air compressor, but you'll have a big steel box that gets pressurized with fans, and then that steel box has all this pressure built up, and you can use that pressure as is needed. So it's the same thing here. There are a number of fans that pressurize one gigantic concrete box, and that's known as a plenum. And the wave is then created by releasing air into the chambers in a certain sequence, and that's how the wave is generated.
Huh.
Yeah.
And does the air push water out, which kind of is what generates the wave? Is that?
Yeah, so the system is such where there is the plenum and the chamber are actually connected. And so the air pressure that is in the chamber is equal to the air pressure in the chamber when the wave is not active. So if you can imagine, if you're inside the chamber, the water level will be lower than that of the surf pool. Okay, so the surf pool may be at a certain height, and then the water level in the chamber is much lower because it shares the same pressure as the plenum. And then to create the wave, the air inside the wave chamber is exhausted and then repressurized in one quick motion, so that all that water from the pool goes up into the chamber, and then it's pushed down very, very quickly. And that's what makes our system so incredibly robust, because you may have, let's say, 20 fans pressurizing this plenum. Well, if you have 2 fans that break, it makes very little difference because you're still continuing to pressurize the plenum. Maybe you're getting a slightly less pressure, and it's a little bit different. But that's what makes it work so well, because there's a lot of redundancy built into the system. And that's why pneumatic waves, there have been other wave pools over the years, just regular small wave pools, but the pneumatic has always won out because of the durability of the system and the reliability of the system.
Is that technology that is exclusive to endless surf, or it kind of sounds like, I've heard pneumatic systems coming from some of the other wave technology
Mm-hmm.
providers, and is it all the same, or is your technology like different than everybody else's? Like what's the
Well,
differentiator there?
there are things that make our system unique. However, there are other wave manufacturers out there that use a pneumatic system, and it may use the pneumatic system differently. It may be a sucking motion versus a blowing motion, or different types of pressures. So, um, but but it is out there in the industry. But we have certain technology that makes ours somewhat unique, in the wave shape, the bottom bathymetry, the contouring, and the way the computer talks to the valves, with the technology that we use called the Wave Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the Wave Doctor.
Well,
What exactly is that?
essentially, it allows. It's a technology system that connects an interface to all of the valves in the pool. And while I don't know exact every single detail of how it functions, what it allows you as the operator to do is to essentially have a menu of waves on an interface that if you want to have a certain style, you can simply press a button or program it so that that style comes out. So there are other technologies out there where it relies on a certain amount of efficiency to build energy within the wave, and you lose some efficiency as on the first wave that comes out and then the last wave that comes out. But what makes this unique is that, let's say on a Tuesday in February and you have one person in the pool, you can literally press a button, a wave pops up, and he can surf that wave. You don't have to have the system constantly running, but you can. There is um, uh, you can have the sequencing where the waves are certain time apart from each wave, but you don't have to. So that's what makes it so incredibly versatile.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And I mean, can you do like different combinations of waves?
you can. That from on our 3600 model and 4800 model, you would typically have waves that are breaking from the center going outwards from each other. So it makes kind of like a point break. Well, not a point break, but an A-frame.
Like an A-frame? Yeah. So
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
like
And so
rights and lefts.
exactly rights and lefts. So that gives you the better capacity because you can have two people surfing essentially the same wave at the same time.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Um, in is the A-frame the only way to get people surfing at a right and a left at the same time?
Yeah, so if we were to look at both the 3600 and 4800, you can either run a wave from one side all the way across to the other side. And I think on the 4800, it's a 27-second ride, which is incredibly long. If you
Yeah.
sit with a stopwatch and you time someone at pipeline, it's like 3 to 5 seconds,
Right,
so
right.
27 seconds is really, really, really long ride. But the so you can do that, but from an operational standpoint, you would typically have two waves going out from
Sure.
the center and then moving out to the side. You can make one shorter and one longer if you want. I mean, that's totally doable as well. And then we've also created our bathymetry on the edges to where the wave will then reform and create more of a softer longboarding wave. So you would have the main peak where you'd have people surfing the bigger, head high waves, and then once they reach the end and it kind of pitters out, it then reforms, and then you can have a longboarding wave. So that kind of helps increase capacity.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at some of the information that you sent me, and I was going to ask about that. You know, what the difference
Hmm.
is between the Peak Pro and the Peak and the longboarding, and
Yeah.
so that kind of touches on that.
Yeah. So when you look at how a wave would be operated, you typically wouldn't have every single wave being the um, you know, pitching barrel that'll kind of knock your head off, maybe at certain times of the day that would be more feasible. So when you look at a feasibility analysis kind of early in the morning when the hardcore guys are wanting to go out, you would have what we call the Peak Pro, which is the biggest wave. And then as during the regular day, you may have just like a regular style wave, regular size, and maybe even a little bit smaller. So it's just more accessible and user friendly to kind of the everyday surfer or people like me. I'm not going to surf that hardcore wave first thing in the morning because I just don't have the skill set.
Right.
um, but but that's, you don't have to operate it with the biggest wave. It's almost like a car as it measures fuel economy. Um, it's not always highway driving, right? It's sometimes streets, and so you kind of have to work a combination of those. So the power consumption for the bigger wave will be a little bit higher. So typically, as an operator, you would charge a little bit more because you're using more power during those times when you are running the biggest wave.
Sure. And the biggest wave being, how big can endless surf get their waves?
Yeah, so from what our modeling has seen, we're looking about 67 foot.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty good
that's
size.
face of the wave. Yeah.
Yeah. And can those be barrels, or can they be, just a regular nice wall?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there would be a nice wall on all of them, I would think, but it can produce the barrels and then also the mush burgers.
Sure.
So both of those are feasible. So
Cool. And are you able to program it so it gives kind of both, where maybe you get a barrel in the beginning and then it kind of gives you a nice lip to hit, or a section to catch a floater or catch air or something?
yeah, I mean that should be totally possible. With that length of wave, it just depends on the model. So on the 4800, maybe if you're going from all the way from left to right, it could be feasible. I'd probably leave that one up to the experts who are programming the wave to see
Sure.
exactly how it would be programmed, but the system itself should be capable of doing that.
Cool. Cool. It sounds like there's a lot of versatility there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Um, Now you guys are building the wave pool in Paris for the 2024 Olympics, right?
We do have a project in Paris, and we did a press release on that. So that, I believe, is the plan. I wasn't the one who negotiated that deal, so I don't know every single detail about it.
Okay.
But yes.
Well, seeing as you don't have a whole lot of inside information on it, do you have an idea as how you guys came to get like in front of the Olympic committee to picture endless surf?
Well, it wouldn't be. I don't believe that the Olympic Committee was involved in the decision-making process. There
Oh,
was a
okay.
client in Paris that was wanting to build this, and they were looking at other technologies out there.
Okay.
And we presented our technology, and they really just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the versatility and the organic shape. It's not like these square boxy type shapes. It's very organic and more natural looking. So a lot of our clients have found that very appealing.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's not necessarily for the Olympics, I guess, but it'll be there by the Olympics.
I believe that that is the plan, but
Okay.
again, you know, there was so much talk about the Olympics in Tokyo
Yeah.
and that they were going to build surf pools for those games, but at the end of the day, then they announced that they're going to be just surfing in the ocean. So I'm not sure what the Olympic Committee's plans are for exactly where the uh, surfing part of the Olympics will take place.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that the Olympics wanted, the first two uh, surfing. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? But like
Events.
yeah, the first two events, like in 2020 and then 2024, they want it to be in the ocean
Yeah,
from what I read. But I don't know how much accuracy there was in what I was reading, or if
yeah.
because it seems like it would be kind of hard to do from Paris. So
Well, they've got some pretty good surf in the coast of France,
yeah.
but yeah, not much in Paris
Yeah.
yet.
Right. And until Endless Surf gets there, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
um so you guys are working on that project. Are you guys involved in any other projects?
Yeah, we have other projects in Asia. I can't disclose all of our lead list, but
Sure.
there's quite a lot of projects that are in the hopper. There's been a great response, to when we launched our product. I think, one of the things that really sets us apart is that we're just very used to dealing with large developments and understand the mentality that our clients have and what they're looking for. We don't have big fees up front, or you don't have to pay us something just to talk to us. You can we're quite free with our information, and our goal is to sell and supply and build surf pools. This that's our business model. Is It's not like these ongoing fees, although there may be kind of software things that have some level of ongoing fees, but primarily our entire business model is built on manufacturing and selling equipment, and that's what we do, and that's what we have 600 employees that basically do that constantly. So
Yeah, cool. Now you mentioned what you guys do kind of differently from other providers.
hmm
For an aspiring surf park developer,
hmm
what should we be looking for in an artificial wave technology provider like Endless Surf?
well, you want to look at how efficient the wave is, how it kind of meets your needs, uh, how the company is there for you and behind what you're doing. You want to look at the quality of the wave, the size of the wave, the frequency. All of these things affect your return on investment. The durability, how often you have to maintain the equipment or fix things that are broken. So when it gets down to building a business, having a company that has been there before and knows how to develop these kinds of systems, I think is what a lot of our clients are looking for.
Yeah, cool. To what extent are you guys involved in the development process? Like how I know that in one of our communications you had mentioned that you guys help with the design of the
hmm
pool. At like what else, I mean, is there anything else that you guys do besides the design? Like do you I'm guessing that you help install it. What's your involvement in the development process from
Right.
concept to building
Sure.
to getting the business going, and then maintenance and beyond that?
Yeah. Yeah. So As far as our involvement goes, pre-contract wise, we are here to help you in that decision-making process, help you with, your feasibility analysis, your business plans, and so on. We also have a full staff of architects that design venues and have more of an understanding of what other elements should be in the venue. So it may not just be the actual surf pool itself, but perhaps a slide complex or a children's play structure for the 6-year-olds that can't come and surf the barreling waves. So they are part of our team and can do designs to different levels. So typically we'll do more of the master planning, and then as things go on, it could be even full design development. But at the end of the day, it's always best for our clients to hire a local architect, to hire someone, for example, a feasibility company that does this professionally, because no matter which manufacturer you're going to hear from, they're always going to have a little bit of a bias towards their equipment. So it's always great to have outside feasibility companies that can come in and can help you create your business plan. And then from a design perspective, we can help with that, but then also bringing in outside architects that understand your clientele, understand your site. From there, we would typically supervise the install, and we're available to answer questions as they arrive. So we have a project management team and an install team that will help you do that. But at the end of the day, again, you'll still want to hire local contractors to build concrete, local engineering firms to do your water filtration, water purification, and so on. So that is another big part of this, is dealing with that volume of water and keeping it clean.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
safe.
I've actually spoken with Cloward H2O about their services, and they definitely seem like they know what they're talking about.
Absolutely, they're one of the groups that we recommend as well. So
yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned like several different partners that are
Mm-hmm.
important for a surf park developer to kind of get with. That being the the water quality,
Right.
and architect,
Mm-hmm.
feasibility. And you're going to need an attorney, and obviously the artificial wave technology provider.
Right.
What other uh, members of the team does a surf park developer need to bring on board?
Well, you'll need a general contractor, right,
Oh, you
to
build it,
build.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
of
to
course.
build it. Concrete, build the concrete works, electricians, plumbers, all those kinds of things. Um, I think you kind of nailed it. One of the other groups that you may want to consider is an operator. And there are a number of operators now. Either if you're trying to operate it yourself, or you want to bring in an operator, there are a number of really great operators out there that specialize in this as well.
Cool.
All the way through the process, there are people and companies that specialize in the planning stages. There are people who specialize in dealing with the cities. There are certain people that really know and understand what opportunities exist when you talk to your local city, and the incentives that may be out there that can actually help fund your project. So I wouldn't say that you just kind of fall off a log and build a surf park, right? There's so many
Yeah.
things that come into place, but the good news is that there are people out there that do it, and we're one of those companies that are here to support you and to help guide you through the process. We may not have all the answers, but we can certainly steer you in the right direction most of the time.
Yeah. Cool. And yeah, I know that we're coming up on needing to let you go in terms of time. I want to be aware of your time.
Yeah,
But just, hopefully I get through a couple more questions. But
sure, go for it.
what is your take on the build it, they will come type of location, like the surf ranch or some resorts that are, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, like Waco,
Mhm.
where they're like, we'll build a surf park and they will come, versus a location that's more urban, like Virginia Beach Wave?
Such a great question. And can't say that I have all the answers to this one. I know that on the flow rider side of things, when we would build flow houses or surf houses, which is kind of more of an urban type development, it's really a restaurant with great surfing entertainment. Live surfing entertainment is kind of what that model is. We did notice that venues where it's more of a destination have far more challenges than venues that are not. However, surf pool's a different animal, and surfers will travel. Surfers will make sacrifices. They'll wake up early. They'll jump on a plane. I mean, you look at places like Tavarua, in Fiji. It's so difficult to get there, yet so many people make that journey down there to surf those waves. So I think if you have a wave that's good enough, you are going to draw people in. And then if you can get that critical mass with other things around it to generate more revenue with your food and beverage, with retail, with hotel resort, that will also build on it and help add to those revenues. The other thing is, which is kind of the flip side of the coin, is when you look at a development in these more urban settings, your costs are just so much higher, right? So your cost to buy the land
Hmm.
is just so much higher. So you have to be generating massive revenues in order for you to be able to afford to be in that location.
Right.
So there are real benefits to being kind of more on the outskirts in areas where the land is a little less costly, and that can help your business. So it's a trade-off, right? So you may, in the more urban setting, you may have to charge more money, and so there are pros and cons to both. So you just have to kind of work through that process and try and get the best deal you possibly can.
Yeah. And you mentioned challenges a couple of times. What are some significant challenges that a surf park developer is going to encounter?
Well, buying the land, dealing with the real estate, dealing with zoning, dealing with cities. If you're on the coast, you're dealing with coastal commissions. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. But I will say that I've had, one of my clients kind of pitched what he was doing on a project in Asia to the city council, and he got a standing ovation, from
Wow.
city council. So um, there's a lot of people that are totally for it, and then there's people that are going to be against it. And when you're talking about this kind of money to build a development to this scale, there's always going to be challenges with raising investment, um, and so on. It's just a big project with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. I know that you had mentioned like some other companies that might help with getting things off the ground and kind of move through the government and that kind of stuff. And you guys don't deal with any of that, right? Or do you help with like finding funding and like help with any of the red tape, that kind of stuff?
Typically, we don't help with finding funding. There are people out there that specialize in it. Uh, so yeah, I mean, there's always a specialist in each part of these kinds of projects.
Yeah. How important is it to find a good land broker and like for your site selection? Is that pretty important, or is it just that you kind of know what you need to look for in land?
No, it's always important. If you can get data on car counts on freeways, the population, if it's between two cities, what the populations are and the number of cars that travel, all the things are really important and can really help you in choosing. And one thing that I've learned in doing this for 20 years is that I really don't know a whole lot. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you do actually know. But you may know just a little bit more than the next guy, which is what kind of helps me in my game.
Right.
But it's always important to rely on the guys that kind of do it for a living.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in terms of like the site selection and looking for land, uh, is there anything that a developer needs to like really keep in mind? I mean, like water tables, like how important is that? Like, should you be looking for, um, uh, like making sure that you're not having to use dynamite to blow out some rock underneath and that kind
Right.
of stuff? Like what
Yeah. I
else
mean,
should
there's
somebody consider?
there's a million variables. One
Yeah.
one big one is electricity costs.
Okay.
Right? I mean, some cities will have different rates than others. And, no matter which technology you look at, these things use a lot of power. And, and, so if you're paying 20 cents a kilowatt, it's going to be really hard to do very well. So, um, it's, you do have to take that into consideration. you know, uh, Staffing requirements for the venue as well come to mind. Um, Water tables. Yeah, sure, but I don't think that's something that a ton of people really are challenged by, because you are only going down, 15, 20 feet. I'm not sure the exact number, but it's not like you're going down 100 feet. Um, and access as well to the site, freeways and parking. These are all things that need to be considered.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, and last question before my last question.
Okay.
Is there anything that you can offer in terms of like in encouragement to a surf park developer, or like you know uh, any hints or tips for success?
Yeah, it's with all developers, I always say that it takes three things: um, money, land, and the energy to see it through. And I often encounter clients that have money and land, but they just don't have the energy and the passion. And one thing that's great about surfing is that so many people are incredibly passionate about it, but it is typically a long road, to kind of work your way all the way through. Um, so passion is key.
Awesome. Okay, so last question, because I know you got to go. But where do you see surf parks taking surfing in a general sense?
Well, when you look at ocean surfing, every wave is different. And that's part of the fun of it. When you're sitting on the back line waiting for a wave to come, and part of the skill of surfing is really reading the ocean and reading the waves as they come to you. But because each wave is different, the maneuvers and the tricks and things that you can do on that wave are really, kind of pop up as the wave develops. And I remember seeing Tony Hawk when he first landed the very first 900, right? He on a half pipe, and he went and he did that trick over and over and over again until he finally stuck it and landed it. And now so many people do that. That's not always easy in the ocean because you're going out and you're surfing. You may catch eight waves, you may catch 10 waves, 12 waves on a good day. But in a surf pool, the wave can be made so that it is the same over and over again. So I think you're really going to see a huge jump in skill level. Certainly not, maybe not in like 20-foot size surf, because wave pools, when you start increasing the power of a surf pool, the power goes up by the square of the cube. So it's just massive amounts of power to produce anything really, really big. But you're going to see skill level that's going to jump up. And then, I'll never forget the first time I went to a flow rider in Texas. And there was a guy wearing a shirt that said, "Surfing is life, the rest is details." And this is in the middle of Dallas. And it always kind of struck me how there is just such a passion for surfing, and people who are landlocked just don't have access to it. So I think it's just going to open up the sport tremendously, and you're going to see new athletes that come out of it. I mean, we're living in an exciting time, and I think we're going to see a lot of change come out of it in the world of surfing.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with everything you said.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, Andrew, I appreciate your time. How can listeners reach you?
Probably the best thing to do is just go on our website, endlesssurf.com, and we have contact us form right there. And typically, if someone reaches out to us through our website, we'll get back to them within 24 hours. So that's kind of our mandate, is to be highly responsive. I'm sure I've been responsive to you, and typically that's how we roll. So if you want to reach us, just go on endlesssurf.com and hit the contact us button.
Great. Well, I'm really excited to see where Endless Surf is going to go with this, and excited to see where what projects you guys come up with and see the technology in action. I'd like to see some surfers riding your waves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's great. Okay. Sounds good, man. Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you much, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Cheers.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right. That was some good stuff from Andrew with Endless Surf. Really enjoyed talking with him and hearing about what they have coming online. Sounds really exciting. If you like this content and you want to keep up to date on surf park developments, trends, and ideas, or if you're an aspiring surf park developer or you're an investor, wave engineer, or whatever, or maybe you'd like to start a surf park mastermind group, please subscribe to my channel, give me a like, comment, share it, and together we can build barrels all over the world. That's it for today. See ya.